TV47. Welcome to Newsfeed. My name is Mombi Chege. Now, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi now wants President Uhuru Kenyatta to constitute a commission of inquiry to investigate alleged corruption at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA. Now, Mudavadi has also urged the public not to give up on the fight against COVID-19 in light of the plunder relating to COVID-19 funds and donations.
The situation, Mr. President, is dire. In the midst of this terror, some have found in our tribulations a source of profiteering through theft, fraudulent procurement schemes, and grossly inflated prices. They need to be stopped. Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya on leadership and integrity. Chapter 12 on principles and guidelines of public finance. The Public Procurement and Disposal Act and the Public Finance Management Act have failed to tame and stop them. The public is restless and now requires answers. Mr. President, a judicial commission of inquiry will unearth the real underlying problems of this malaise. Meanwhile, I urge Kenyans to not to give up the fight against COVID-19. Continue observing guidelines as issued from time to time. Coronavirus is real. It is here with us. But all will be well if we protect ourselves. God bless Kenya. God bless our people.
And Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has called on Ukambani leaders to work together. Sonko, who had attended the burial of former politician Paul Ngei's son, Henry Masaku, in Bilini village in Machakos County, also called on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate the loot on COVID-19 donations. His sentiments were echoed by Mwala Member of Parliament Engineer Vincent Musyoka. Musyoka urged the Kamba community to vote wisely in the forthcoming elections.
Tukae chini, tuongee, tukubaliane. Na kama hao wazee wanashindwa, mimi naweza fanya kazi ya uzee. Kama wanashindwa tuongee, basi waache mimi niende huko mbele na hao wengine tupambane. Lakini kwa sasa tusitumiwe kugawanya kura yetu. Tusitumiwe kupigana kelele wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Hiyo haitusaidii. Unaona tunadharauliwa na kabila zingine. Ukienda Nyanza wote wanaongea kabila moja, siasa moja. Ukienda Central, wote wanaongea kwa nyumba ya Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Ukija kwetu hapa Ukambani, sijui nani mara nani. Tuheshimu jamii yetu. Jamii yetu ni jamii ya kuheshimika. Community yetu ni community iko na jina kubwa. Wakina wale walitangulia kina marehemu Paul Ngei, Mbona Mutisia, wakiwasikia mnafanya siasa, waliwacha Wakamba mkiwa na umoja. Sasa tunagawanywa na matapeli wa siasa. Mimi sitapiga firimbi ya mtu wote ule kwa sasa. Nitasimama na Wakenya pale popote waliko. Tuhakikishe tunapeleka nchi yetu mbele. Firimbi ikipigwa, basi tujitupe uwanjani sote. Yule wananchi atasema, basi huyo ndo anakuwa rais wa Kenya.
Our country is bleeding with corruption. Our country is bleeding with intolerance. Our country is bleeding with lack of inclusivity, lack of accountability. And when we ask these things, we are arrested. Where is COVID money?
And still on the runaway graft on COVID-19 funds, the Secretary General of Kenya National Union of Nurses has faulted ODM Secretary Edwin Sifuna for saying EACC and DCI should not probe the KEMSA saga before a comprehensive audit has been done. Panyako said the ODM official's statement is tantamount to shielding corruption.
I want to categorically state that it is the responsibility of every Kenyan, including leaders, to ensure that the fight against corruption is is taken to a different notch. We will not allow dissolute. We will not allow warped minds sitting up and using national platform like political parties like ODM to perpetrate impunity and corruption. I want to tell Sifuna that the statement you issued supporting corruption and saying that there is no corruption in Kemsa boils only to one thing, that the Orange Democratic Movement has lost direction. It is now here perpetuating impunity and corruption. It is now here protecting the cartels that have brought suffering in the health sector. Nurses are dying because we are not getting adequate personal protective equipment. And those which are coming are of low quality. And yet, Sifuna can come and stand and tell the country that there is no corruption in Kemsa. The corruption which is being talked about is being brought about by the media.
And away from graft matters, milk production in the country is expected to go down further as a result of delayed raw materials used in processing animal feeds. Milk farmers are bearing the brunt of COVID-19 impact following the closure of schools and restaurants, who were their major consumers. Farmers are now calling on the government to salvage the situation.
At Midland Feeds Processors in Karatina, Nyeri County, processing of animal feeds is underway, but the production has gone down by 50% owing to the ravages of COVID-19. The processor attributing this downfall to shortage of raw materials to process the concentrates and the delay in testing of truck drivers at the borders of Kenya and East African countries, who are the major producers of the raw materials.
Buy bland at a cost of 600. Right now we are buying at 950. Miss Jam was 1100. Right now it's 1500. Porad likewise, it was 1250. Now it's 1500.
The situation is worse to farmers who have to buy animal feeds at high prices, but contend with selling their milk at throwaway prices. A litre fetching a mere 32 shillings at retail price, with cooperatives and societies buying the milk at just 30 shillings.
After doing your math, deductions of feeds, the labor there, all these that I call, if your animal may get sick, these minerals and the proteins that we buy for our animals, you end up remaining with only a little profit.
The picture is not a little bit good, and then we are also in the very cold season when the cow requires a lot of metabolic heat, so a lot of energy is going to maintain the heat of the cow. So again, the production per cow has also gone down.
Alex Gavei, a dairy farming consultant, alludes that if the decline persists, the government might open doors for importation of milk, thereby hurting the Kenyan farmer. Despite the plenty of food due to the ongoing rains, he says that farmers need to feed their cows with concentrates to increase production, but the situation is dire.
If you want to get a lot of milk, you feed your cows with a lot of concentrate. And now farmers are not able to give their cows a lot of concentrate because of the cost of the price in the market. That's why you are seeing there's a lot of decrease in the production of the milk in the whole country. Production will go far below 50%, and the effect will be then the cost of the effect is that the consumer will get the milk at a very higher price because there will be no enough milk in the market.
In May this year, the Kenya Dairy Board announced production of milk had gone down from 60 million litres in January to 54 million litres at the end of March, when the first case of coronavirus was reported in the country. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, an investor has been arrested by Kenya Forest Service Rangers in Magarini for allegedly cutting down over 100 acres of mangrove trees and homes. Edward Mburu was clearing acres of mangrove as a larger plan to set up a salt harvesting farm in a controversial land dispute with the locals.
Acres and acres of once forested land now lay bare in Magarini, Kilifi County. One person is in police custody for allegedly destroying close to 100 acres of endangered mangroves. The salt harvesting investor was arrested by forest rangers and handed over to the police. Confirming the arrest, Coast Regional Commandant of KFS Benjamin Were said they were notified about the destruction of the mangroves 2 days ago and they sprang to action. Kilifi County Ecosystem Conservator Elvis Fondo said the arrest is a warning to others who destroy forest illegally. He said the community remains vigilant and arrests and prosecutions will be made against anyone destroying the forest.
Na kwa siku ya leo huyu ameweza kupatikana na kwa sasa ameweza kuwekwa katika amepelekwa polisi na amekuwa booked. Hili ni funzo kwa wengine ambao huwa wanaingia katika misitu hii ya serikali na kujifanyia mambo bila idhini. Kila kitu kiko wazi, mahali popote unapoenda lazima upitie kwa wahusika ili uweze kusaidiwa au kupewa mwelekeo. Na utakapojaribu kuingia bila ruhusa yetu au bila ruhusa ya mwenye mahali hapo, basi utakumbana na mkono wa serikali, kwa sababu misitu hii ya mangrove ni misitu ambayo kufikia sasa inatakana kusimamiwa sana. Kwa hivyo yoyote atakayekuwa anajaribu kufanya vitu ambavyo sivyo, hata community haitaweza kupendezwa, na tutapata habari hiyo mara moja na tutaingia hapo na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba hali hiyo tumeweza kuarrest kama hivyo ambavyo tumefanya.
So we brought that gentleman and booked him at Malindi police station and is now awaiting prosecution. And as the EC has said, he's going to do the evaluation of the destruction cost, and he will be charged against that.
Magarini MP Michael Kingi said the investor was clearing a controversial piece of land that had been previously leased to Monyo Company for the production of salt. The previous lease was revoked because the company failed to produce salt and instead used the lease to acquire a loan from a bank.
Yule ambaye alipatiwa lease katika yule Munyo Salt ambaye alipatiwa lease ya hii shamba tarehe 1 June 1986 kwa muda wa miaka 45 hakuweza kuzalisha chumvi kama walivyo hivyo ilikuwa kiagane. Na baada ya kukosa kuzalisha chumvi pale, tunaona kwamba aliona ni vyema akachukue mkopo katika benki. Na alipochukua mkopo katika benki akashindwa kulipa.
Last week, the residents of Garite area in Magarini sub-county protested against the destruction, claiming it was a threat to the environment and would affect the livelihood of more than 2,000 people living in the area.
Now meet the Lioness, an elite all-female Kenyan ranger unit who patrol a conservation area near Kenya's Amboseli National Park. When Kenya confirmed its first case of the new coronavirus in March, the unit was already out on patrol in the bush and chose to stay away from their families for 4 months rather than risk coming in and getting infected and leaving the animals they love vulnerable to poaching. Here's that story.
An elite all-female ranger unit named the Lionesses patrols a conservation area near Kenya's Amboseli National Park. The recruits are drawn from the Maasai community who live around the park. As the women patrol, their bonds are clear. They chat and joke on the long walks in between visits to residents, who they ask whether predators are bothering local cattle or if any strangers are moving through the area. 24-year-old Purity Amleset Lakara is one of the Lionesses.
While we are on patrol, sometimes we take some time to visit the community around. We serve the community around. We share with them some information. Information like we ask them if there is any predation case, any incident that they have come across that we might not be aware. They share with us information freely because they love us. We are just from this local community.
The group says that while on patrol a few weeks ago, they came across people slaughtering a giraffe. The women who patrol unarmed captured the 2 men armed with bows and arrows and handed them over to rangers. The Kenyan government has put in place stiff penalties, long jail terms and big fines on anyone convicted of poaching or trafficking in wildlife trophies, saying poaching was harming tourism, a major foreign exchange earner. Sharon Nankinyi is a member of the Lionesses Ranger Unit.
Since the corona started on the lockdown, there is bush meeting whereby people are idle, people are jobless, they don't have food, and they end up going to the forest doing poaching.
The ranger team was out on patrol way before the first case of COVID-19 was recorded in the country and only returned home after 4 months of looking after the wildlife. Sharon Nankinyi was welcomed home with singing and dancing after the team's extended stint in the bush.
Amekaa kwa miezi 4 hajafika nyumbani. Sasa leo tumemwona amekuja, tumefurahi sana. Tumempokea vizuri, tumemwandalia na kachakula na kakinywaji.
Na amekuja kupata kazi ambapo ni mzuri sana kwangu, ambapo hatukuacha kimila yetu kwa sababu babu yake mwenyewe alikuwa katika hifadhi ya wanyama ya Amboseli. Alikuwako warden hapa Amboseli.
The unit of 8 women patrols the Olgulului Community Conservancy Conservation Area, 150,000 acres of land shared by wildlife and human beings. It's funded by the International Fund for Animal Welfare, which helped form the unit in 2017. Joash Onsare, TV 47.
Thank you, Joash, for that report. Many thanks for staying with us here on Newsfeed. Let's take a short breather. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to News. Residents of Kuresoi North Sub-County have been urged to speak up against defilement and avoid solving such cases without the involvement of proper legal channels. A group of well-wishers made these sentiments when they visited Tegea village in the constituency to give out dignity kits to needy teenage girls.
An upsurge in underage pregnancies and defilement cases in Kuresoi North is a driving force for these friends who are old girls and boys of the village to join hands and help young girls access the much-needed dignity kits. Anne Mukami was touched when she had a case of a teenage pregnancy, only later to realize that the young girl found herself in that situation due to lack of sanitary towels.
Tulianza na 2 cases hapa Tegea. Tukasikia kuna wasichana wawili wako early pregnant. Ile kitu iliniguza na nikataka kujua sababu ya kuwa wamepata zile mimba za mapema. Kuna mmoja wao nilitembelea na nikajaribu kumhoji. Akaniambia ni kwa sababu ati hakuwa na uwezo wa kujinunulia pad. Wakati alienda kutembelea wale, yani akadanganywa na kijana, ukuje nitakusaidia. Akaniambia wakati alipewa ile 50 hata kumsaidia, alijipata akiwa na pregnant. Hiyo kitu ndio iliniguza na nikaona tukinyamaza hawa wasichana wetu wengi hawatasoma. Iliniguza, nikajaribu kutafuta marafiki wangu na nikawaomba wanisaidie tukuje tushikilie wasichana wetu. Na ndio manake siku ya leo tumekuja hapa na tumeweza kushikilia at least wasichana kama 100.
The girls could not hide their joy and relief on receiving the dignity kits. They say they have been undergoing a rough time since school closed early in the year due to COVID-19. At school, they received free sanitary towels.
Tungependa kusema tumefurahia, tumeshukuru juu ya venye tumekumbukwa. Tunaona places zingine vitu kama hizi wasichana wakisaidiwa na hii sanitary towel, lakini hapa tunajiuliza kwani tulisahaulika. Tunaangalia viongozi lakini hatujaweza kupata, lakini tumeshukuru sana juu tumempata mmoja wetu. Ni wa hapa ameenda na akatukumbuka.
Kushukuru sana, tunashukuru. Sababu tukiwa kwa shule tulikuwa tunapewa, lakini saa hii wakati kwa hii janga imetupata ya corona, hakuna kwenye tunapewa hizi sanitary towel. Lakini kwa sasa tumeshukuru sana.
Rahab Kinuthia, TV47.
And Kenya Power Company has commissioned a 26 million shillings electricity project at Emesuti area near Kenya-Tanzania border. The project is expected to boost the economy of the remote area, since South Rift Acting Rural Electrification Authority Regional Manager Masi Sialai asked the residents to take advantage of the project to do business. Sialai also noted that the electricity will be a big boost to digital learning, and the students from schools in the area will be able to learn like those in urban areas. Narok South Member of Parliament Korey Ole Limain said the area has been lagging behind economically because of poor infrastructure.
Sana REA kwa kufanya kazi mzuri, kuleta stima kutoka huo umbali.
And in the world of sports, former Arsenal midfielder and assistant manager Freddie Lamberg has left the club's coaching setup to pursue new opportunities. The Swede international